It started as young as when we were in grade school, we talked about we picked men and women against each other. And as a woman, we're always told that, oh, we're better than men, we're smarter than them. But in reality, both genders really help shape the people that we are. Like when you see great men, when you see great women, I promise you, it's someone of the opposite sex, whether it be a lover, a parent, a sibling, a friend, that plays a huge role into the person that they are. I feel like you can always tell the quality of woman a man has in his life based on his emotional intelligence, his ability to curb his anger and sensitivity in situations, not just in situations dealing with women, but in life.
Ask Kadi, the voice of reason. It's an advice show covering all kinds of topics that millennials face. That's my girl, Kadi C, the friend that cares more about your growth than your feelings.
Step by, folks.
Yes, it's a bang banging. We have
Bang banging.
the bangs banging.
Bang banging. Bang banging. Hi, everybody.
I really wish your wife was here for this topic because you really sparked this topic with him talking about his wife. We're going to talk about it because Toddy wasn't here when he did it. You good?
Yep, anytime.
All right, guys. Welcome to another episode of Ask Kadi, the voice of reason. I am your host, Kadi C. Before we get started, I'm going to start this off by saying if you are not subscribed to this YouTube channel, if you have not already downloaded the podcast, this is the time to do it, okay? We are in Q4. It's crunch time. Everybody's trying to be their better self before we start the new year, which is only a couple of months away. So what better way to do it than to be a part of our community of growing and being honest and holding each other accountable. Now, let's get into what I want to talk about today. The last recording session we had here, Craig, the videographer, and Greg, who's not here right now, production, he was talking to me. They were telling me about the women in their lives. It started with Craig telling us about how he's been married you just celebrated your 20th? 28th anniversary. And he was telling us about how he met his wife, how the first time he met his wife, he knew she was going to be his wife. And his face was just lit up. And I just was like, I have not met his wife yet. I can't wait to meet her. But I was like, I just know she a good woman. I could tell just from my interactions with Craig. And same thing with Greg. Greg was talking about how he's the only boy that in his house, he has sisters and his mom. And I was like, I could so tell that you grew up around women because of, once again, my interactions with them and just the character that they displayed. So they was like, oh, you should talk about this the next episode. And I'm like, I should, because in society, naturally growing up, I feel like we are always having this conversation or conversations that's pitting men and women against each other. And I'm even guilty because earlier this week, when I was taking my daughter to school, or we was walking home from school, I taught her the song, boys go to Jupiter to get more stupider, girls go to college to get more knowledge. And now it's stuck in her head. She sing that song all the time. But I'm like, it started as young as when we were in grade school, we talked about we picked men and women against each other. And as a woman, we're always told that, oh, we're better than men, we're smarter than them. But in reality, both genders really help shape the people that we are. When you see great men, when you see great women, I promise you, it's someone of the opposite sex, whether it be a lover, a parent, a sibling, a friend, that plays a huge role into the person that they are. So I wanted to talk about that because, not just because of the conversation I had with Craig and Greg, but I talked about it before. I was raised by a single dad. My dad wasn't single, but my mom was deported when I was 9, and my dad raised my sisters and I from the age of 9 until 24 when he passed away. So I have a very unique experience because oftentimes we hear about the single mother, but never the single dad. And for me, I really had a single dad because naturally I feel like people, the second parent for real, be people's mom, the grandmother, the aunts. I have a huge family, but my extended family is very much extended. When it was my mom and dad, me and my siblings were always only used to my mom and dad. We didn't have other relatives that were that close to us emotionally, like a parent figure. My grandparents, I never got a chance to meet them. They passed away. My parents had us really old. My mom had me in her 40s. My dad was probably in his early 50s. So yeah, my parents were all I know. So when my mom got deported, although a lot of relatives came and was like, okay, we can't leave this man with 3 girls. Let's take her. My dad gave us the option. He's like, you want to go live with one of your aunts or stay with me? And we're like, we don't know them people, but we're not comfortable. We want to stay with you. So I was very much raised by my dad, and I was a daddy's girl. Not just in the sense of like being spoiled, but like my dad was my role model. Like I didn't grow up looking at other women that I wanted to be like. I very much wanted to be like my dad. Like my dad was a leader in his community. He was a very religious leader. He was well respected. My podcast and what I do now is a direct reflection of what I watched my dad do. My dad was like, because he was a leader in the African community when it was things like divorces or family drama, similar to a church where you'll go to your pastor and talk to them about it. My dad was that person. Not just because he was a religious leader, but because of how well respected he was. So I remember growing up, waking up, going to get cereal out the kitchen, and it's like a couple in the living room crying, asking my dad for advice, or somebody coming to my dad about something going on with their job or their family or their kids. And he will honestly like let us sit through it. And people respected my dad so much because, you know, it's common where it's like if adults having adult talk is like don't have kids around. But my dad, I think he would intentionally let us be around. And when I say us, honestly, it would just be me. My sisters, they're kind of shy, so they wouldn't want to come around when people would be around. But I would be in a room full of men while my dad is like preaching or like, you know, just giving wisdom. And I will watch him advise people. So I very much wanted to be like that. So I think that's what have made me a person that like I have a lot of close male friends, but I have a lot of women friends too. Like I'm not one of them girls that's like, I don't get along with women. I get along with women. And I think the reason why I get along with women a lot is because I never will walk into a room full of women and be intimidated, catty, want to be, because I didn't care for that. Like I was cool being the girl around a bunch of girly girls and being the tomboy or the one that don't wear heels, or, you know, I could beat my face now, but back then I was like the one that didn't beat my face, didn't really talk about boys like that. So it made it easy for me to get around women because I would just be myself. But when I get in a room full of men, now that's where I would like, I don't want to say puff my chest, where I felt like I had to like compete with a man, because I was very much aware I'm a woman and I'm not trying to be a man. But the qualities that I see in my dad, being respected, being a leader, like people caring about his opinion, I was very intentional about walking into rooms with men and being able to hold that same weight. So that's where I kind of get a lot of my personality from. I wouldn't describe myself as aggressive, but I'm just like, you know, like go ahead, you can speak. Oh. She's like wording stuff to me. What were you? Like you're an alpha female. I'm okay. I guess you would call it an alpha female, but it's like I'm not finna be in a room full of men and be like timid or scared to speak my mind and stuff like that. So it was so common for me to just have guy friends. And sometimes I would be the girl, like my guy friends, like in college, they'll like invite me over. They be like, don't bring no girls, just you. So when guys were having that just guy moment, I would get a ticket like, Kadi, only you could come, but please don't bring your other female friends and stuff like that. So, yeah, just touching on that, and from that experience, I want to give you guys a list of things, starting with how men and what qualities having good men in your life can bring to you as a woman. Like, and I'll start off with one: men provide a sense of protection and emotional stability. I know we say men are not emotionally intelligent, and if we're being honest, they're not. But for me, through my experience in life, the type of protection, deeper than just physical protection, I feel like the men in my life has bought me friends, family, my father. Like, I was thinking of a time, my first male best friend, like the first guy that I was like, you are my best friend, was in high school. And I remember I wanted to be like the girls, like, you know, you got a guy, like all my friends had stories where they were either dating guys or they went out to a guy's house and stuff. And at that point I was like, what, a 10th or 9th grade? I haven't done that yet. So I was trying to like, you know, be a part of the crew and have my own story. So it was this boy that, he didn't go to my school, but he used to come around the school or whatever like that. I think he went to alternative school. Not too much on me, because my friends like to say that I have a type, and my type is like hood dudes, but there is no evidence to support that. But he was just so interested because he was so quiet and we had a mutual friend. So he was like, oh, he told the mutual friend that he liked me or whatever. So me and him would be like talking on the phone and he still seemed very shy and timid, even though he had this mysterious like aggression about him. So I was like, I felt safe enough to be like, oh, I'm gonna go to his house. I had a little job at the time and I would catch the train to my job. So I was telling him, oh, I gotta go to work tomorrow. And he was like, well, stop at my house before you go to work or whatever. He was like, I'm gonna pay for your train pass. And you know, that's tea that you want to give your girls. Like, oh, I went to this boy house and he gave me money. I ain't do nothing with him. And disclaimer, I have very strong intuition. So I knew that he wasn't one of them types where I'm gonna go to his house and things would go left. I always had good intuition with that. So I was like, cool, I'm gonna go to his house. And I went to his house. It was cool. Like, you know what I'm saying? He was showing me all these drawings or whatever like that. He definitely lived in the hood. Like, I live in the hood, but his hood was in my hood. So it was extra scary. Like, but he was just really nice. He was showing me his drawings. Long story short, the following day, I was telling all my friends the story. I started off with my girlfriends. I was like telling them, oh my God. And then he gave me money to buy, like, to get on the train. Like, you know what I'm saying? Just talking about it or whatever and just about how cool the experience was and he was. But then when I went to tell my best friend Bahir the story, I told it the same way I told my female friends. And he just cut me off, was like, bruh, why would you do that? He's like, if you need money for a train, come to me. Like, don't ever go to no nigga. Like, he killed my shit because I'm trying to tell you, like, I had my first like girly moment when went to a guy's house, but he instinctively just got protective. And it not even because the guy did anything to me there. It was just on some shit like, no, like, as long as you got me in your life as your friend, don't ever feel like you got to go to a man. Like, you know what I'm saying? For money, even though it's not that I needed the money. It was just cool to say that the dude bought my train pass. But I gotta be honest, even though he killed my shit, that sense of protection, that sense of like, you know what I'm saying? Like, not, I loved that. I loved being surrounded by that. And I think for me, that's why men have always been a safe space for me. Like, it was a point in time, like, I would only choose a male OBGYN. I would only want a male therapist. Like, my first few therapists before were only men. And even though I said I have more, like, just as much as female friends as male friends, for me, my male friends, like, they really got my girly side. Like, let my female friends tell me, they're like, Kadi, just, I'm not a tomboy, but just based on my aggression and like how I like hide my emotions, sometimes they just think I'm a hard shell. But the guys in my life, they get my soft self because of that sense of protection. And another thing with being a woman, what having quality men in your life bring you is self-worth. The obvious. Like, you know, we hear things like, oh, she got daddy issues if she's doing this, that. But in reality, it's just like, because of that sense of protection, because of that, like, that safe space that men, real men, naturally bring to women that they love and women that they respect, you really carry that energy and having self-worth for yourself. You know what I'm saying? When it comes to dating. I would never forget one time I was in a college party, going back to how I was saying I don't have a type. I don't feel like I have a type. Like, you know how people like, I only date light skin and this. I feel like if you lined up guys that I've dated in my life, you're not gonna see physically anything that they have in common. But whenever I started to like a guy, like, I'm not the type of person that just see a cute guy and be like, oh, I like him. Like, no, you're cute, but I won't like you. I usually end up liking a guy when I see that quality that brings me emotional safety or like respect. So I remember one time I was at a college party. It was actually a frat party off campus. So if you know, you know. That's I'm giving you that background information to show you how wild it was. It was a frat party off campus, jungle juice, all that good stuff. And I was having a time in that party. I just know at one point I was in the air. Don't ask me who had me in the air, but I was in the air having a time. And I just remember hearing a voice like, put her down, like, put her down. Like, somebody saying, put her down, like, because I was being thrown in the air. So somebody said, put her down. And it was this boy that I was in college with. I don't want to say I had a crush on him, but I thought he was cute when I saw him, but I just left it at that. I never really pursued him or considered it a crush, but it was him. And he was like, what? Yo, you wildin'. Like, then he took me to the bathroom and he was like, you have white shorts on. And he opened the water and started wiping my shorts down. It was such the most motherly protective moment ever. And after that, I was like, oh, I like him. Like, I just like that. That is what I like. So, yeah, that's self-worth. Like that the amount of self-worth you get when you see men show respect for you, especially in platonic relationships. Like, don't take for granted, y'all, the fathers, the brothers in your life and how overprotective they could be about you. It could be a little annoying. Sometimes it could be embarrassing, but that is what you carry with you and you use as a compass when you are, especially in the dating world, and really want to gauge the level of respect a man has for you. Another thing is balanced perspective. When it comes to me and things that I'm going through, advice, specifically relationship advice, I always go to my male friends. I go to my female friends to vent. Like, when I'm going to my female friends, I'm going to just talk my shit. But when I go to my male friends, my ears are open. I'm really going to get a male's perspective. And I know there's this thing where people say, oh, guys be like, my girl can't have no male bestie. When I tell you, and I'm telling you, my baby father, he could attest. The male friends in our life have saved our relationships at different point of time, because when I tell him what they told me and he see I have a change of perspective about things, is because I know we don't like to admit it, but men or women, we are different. Like, we cannot judge each other on the same metrics because men just think different. Women think different. So the advice I've always gotten from my male friends has always like just expanded my mindset and changed my behavior about how I approach romantic relationships and also how I approach myself. Like, going back to my dad, the difference between growing up with a single dad versus a single mom or your mother, especially in African culture, but I feel like in all Black culture, women are always teaching their girls how to be accepted and how to, like, they could teach you the external stuff. My dad couldn't teach me how to be classy. So I was a little rough around the edges growing up. But I think he always pushed my sisters and I to like expand the qualities that he knew men would respect. Like, my dad never, I think in the African household, mothers are always telling you, you gotta learn how to cook because a man ain't never gonna want you. Or you better make sure you look nice going out, or men gonna think you, everything was like male centered. Like, I always, like, if I compare myself to like relatives and friends that I grow up with, I feel like mothers always raise you in a way that's male-centered. Even if they're not saying you're doing it for a male, the idea of keeping up with yourself, the idea of being this, that was all to be considered a classy woman or to be attractive to other people. With my dad, he didn't care about that. He just used to, I think he always pushed in different lessons. He always pushed us like speaking our mind. Like, that's why that's a big thing for me. If I'm in a room full of people and I have something in my heart to say, not having fear and speaking up for myself. Or just like, I remember me and my dad never really had a boys conversation because it's just this unspoken rule that you don't date until you married. But I remember, and I talked about, I think I shared this story on Instagram, when my father found a condom in my pocket when I was in high school. Now, I was not having sex, but me and this boy in high school, we were friends. We would always say, I told this story before. He played like the trumpet or clarinet or something like that really good. I went to a performing arts school. And we would always say, like, I'm like, you gonna be famous one day. He'd be like, no, you gonna be famous one day. So we would say throughout high school. So our senior year, he gave me this condom. He said, when you get famous and I see you on the red carpet, this is how we're gonna know it's each other. If we don't remember each other, just pull out this condom. So I had this condom in my pocket for the longest, and I wore school uniforms. So I came home and I think I took the school uniform off, and somehow my father found it. Like, he probably was just picking up my clothes off the floor and it fell out the pocket. And when I got home, he was being nice to me the whole day. Like, not that my dad was ever mean to me, but it was just like, did you eat? Like, it was weird, but I didn't like pay any mind to it until later that night. He came to me. He was like, let me talk to you. And he pulled out the condom, and I almost melted in my clothes. And I instantly was like, no, I was like, this is from health class. Because I couldn't tell him the real story. I feel like that really sounded like a lie. You ever felt like your truth sounded like a lie, so you create a lie to really make it sound like the truth? So I didn't tell him the story about the boy, but I was just like, look, in health class, I was learning sex education at the time. So I showed him the book, like, look, this came from school. Like, they teaching about this and they get to kind of, he like, okay. And I just didn't want to have a conversation, but he just was like, listen, all I'm going to say is like, guys like to play, don't let no guy play with you. That was the only conversation me and my dad ever had about dating and guys. And when I tell you he's passed away now, it's stuck with me. Don't let guys like to play, don't let guys play with you. And if you know that, if I was to list out my history with guys, I think if you was to line all of my guys up that I've ever dated in this lifetime, one thing they will say, I don't let you play with me. Like I'm going up the score or whatever. So, yeah, that self-worth, like that one advice and just my experiences with the platonic men in my life has really, really always showed me my value in situations, especially romantic relationship. And that goes to say, I kind of put that here. I talked about it, setting standards for relationships. I mentioned the advice, like, never, I think I mentioned this before, but I'm going to reiterate it. Like, always when you're dating, or even if you're married already, never let your romantic partner, men, if I'm talking to women, heterosexual women, they need to see how people value you, like the platonic men in your life value you. I have this concept. I'm not a man, Craig, correct me if I'm wrong, but I always say, like, women can inspire men, but other men influence men. So, like, okay, if a woman say something, or like, not even say something, like, men do a lot of shit inspired by women. They want to look good. They want to get money because women say that's what they like. But when it comes to what a man does, I feel like at the forefront is always they're measuring themselves around against other men, whether it's in their circle or in life. So it's like when a guy sees you be valued and respected and protected by the platonic men in your life, I feel like it influences him to follow suit. So that's why I was always big on when I dated guys, and that best friend conversation always come up. You got guy friends? I make it be known, like, you not about to punk me into not like playing my guy friends. I'm talking about these guys I ain't got to give a lick of cookie to, and they pulling up on a highway if I'm stranded. They're answering at like 5 o'clock in the morning if I'm crying. Like, what? Like, you got levels. You can't compete where you don't compare. Can't beat them, might as well join them. So I remember telling someone this because this is a relative. She had little brothers, but they wasn't little. They was close in age, but they were her younger brothers. And there will be a guy that she was dating that she will always bring over the house. And he wouldn't speak to anybody when he come in the house, just go to her or whatever. And her younger brother approached her like, yo, like trying to big brother her low key. Like, who this guy in the house? Like, who? And she just like try to brush him off. And I was like, don't do that. And I was like, definitely don't let that guy see you do that. Because he needs to see that you're loved and you're valued by other men in your life. That's where he's going to take notes from. Otherwise, I don't care how good of a man is, I don't think he would think twice when it comes to respecting you if he never see you be respected by other men, specifically platonic men. You know what I'm saying? Men are not going to want to compare themselves to your exes, low-key. Like, they don't want to use your ex as a marker on how they're going to treat you. Ideally, they want to be better than your ex. But your father, your brother, your best friends, oh yeah, they'll teach them a thing or two on how they should treat you and respect you.
So like they don't
play with you. They won't play with you without them even having to punk him or pull up to them. Like, just how they treat you. Like, trust me, girls, especially if you got an overprotective dad, you see in the movies when a guy got to meet the father, how nervous he is and stuff like that. That's how the platonic men in your life should have the guys that you're dating in your life. So you got to show them that, like, So those are my 3 things with women, but I also want to highlight how women add value and shape men. One goes without saying, emotional intelligence and spiritual guidance. I feel like you can always tell the quality of woman a man has in his life based on his emotional intelligence, his ability like to curb his anger and sensitivity in situations, not just in situations dealing with women, but in life. And you see that shift specifically happen when men have daughters or when they value their mother in their life. You know what I'm saying? So, and I think that comes from women. Like, women bring that. Women open up the softness in men and to understand patience, which is correct me if I'm wrong, the number one thing to being a successful man, and I'm not even just talking about successful in money, but like just really be able to navigate life as a man, especially if you're hold to the standard of being a leader, patience, and being able to curb your emotions. Women do that. And women don't do that by just saying like, oh, you're a man, you shouldn't be emotional. But when you have a space, safe space with the women in your life to talk about your feelings, talk about your emotions, which women inspire the men in their life to do, you don't go out and just be throwing that frustration out to the world for no reason. You know what I'm saying? So that and spiritual guidance. I always say that. You hear this topic so much when we talking about men saying like, oh, what do you bring to the table? What do you bring to the table? Asking a woman, what do you bring to a table? If you gotta ask what a woman brings to the table, you don't have good women in your life. You probably got real bad mommy issues and probably was mistreated by the women in your life. And that's unfortunate. But if you are fortunate enough to know the value of a woman and the level of spiritual intelligence and intuition that they have, boy, you're gonna be you're gonna be practicing polygamy. You're gonna want 3 or 4 women in your life, because I can't count on my hands the amount of times where I spoken up to the men in my life about just intuition, things that I just couldn't explain, whether it's like, that friend in your life ain't your friend. Or this behavior that you're doing that everyone is like championing you behind, it's really not that cool. And it was a point in time where I would not want, specifically when it comes to male friends, I wouldn't want to highlight that part of myself because I don't want to come off weird. Like, everybody ain't into like the spiritual side of their life. So I don't want to seem like a party pooper or I'm being critical. But I would never forget there was a time where I just said to God, like, how you living, it's not okay. Like you need to, like, I feel like the advice I gave, it was one of my friends. He was just out here hoeing. He was single, rightfully so. But I just started, like, the more and more stories he'll tell me every other day, different woman, every other day. Like, and it came a point, I'm just like listening. But then one day I just got this urge to tell him, like, you're struggling with something. Me and this friend, we joke a lot. So I'm like, you need to see a therapist. I was like, you acting like, how they say girls got daddy issues? You acting like you got daddy issues. Like, and I was like, you accomplished so much in your life. Like, just me and knowing this person's history, I was like, where you are now in your life, financially, career-wise, I'm sure there's people out there, they wouldn't have expected that from you. And I was like, but by you having your name around here, because you messing with multiple girls that know each other, girls from the same city, I was like, you are lowering your value and it's not good for your spirit. And I just had to say it. I felt like it, at that time it's like, oh, party pooper, what was that on Jerry Springer where they were like, go to Oprah. Y'all know I love Oprah. I felt like I was having one of those moments, but I just had to tell him. And like, you could tell the conversation made him uncomfortable. He tried to joke it off, but he ended up calling me days later. He was like, yo, Kadi, I was really thinking about what you said, and I'm gonna slow down. Like, so that spiritual guidance that ends up like heightening your life. I'm sure if you sit down with any successful man, any billionaire, he's going to tell you a time where the woman in his life, whether it be his wife, his mother, his kids, did something or heightened their spiritual understanding of whatever their journey was, and that's what took them to the next level.
You feel like who men deal with affects them spiritually?
Oh, for sure. She tried to ask, do I feel like who men deal with, the type of women men deals with, for sure. For sure. And it's unfortunate that I feel like women, we're always told, even if you're going to be out here hoeing, it's frowned upon for women, because we are held to the standard of this spiritual understanding that if you let anybody in you, it's going to affect you karmatically. I don't know if that's the word, like karma-wise. That energy is going to follow you in life. And you be thinking, oh, I'm broke because of inflation. You broke because who you laying with. Or you haven't been accomplishing things because of the spirit that you're laying with. But I don't feel like men get that same level of understanding and held to that same standard. You are depressed, not because oh, shit just happens. Like, it's probably the woman you're laying with. And not just about her, the quality of woman that she is, but also how you're treating her. You know what I'm saying? If you treat a woman in a way where she has a sad spirit, then you go sleep with this sad spirit, then now all day long you listen to Rod Wave and popping pills, That's why. Like, you know what I'm saying? So I'm not even joking. Like, men really do need to understand the quality of women that you lay with spiritually, and also how you treat women will come back to you. I'm telling you, if you know, ask any man that's a male gigolo, a hoe out here, they don't have peace. They do not have peace, and it's because of that. But what I would say, males that are hoes, they make great friends. I remember like in high school, or like, when I was younger, when that one male hoe or that basketball player, everybody fucking like, all the girls be like, I want him. I'd be like, oh my God, I want to make him my friend. Because though they be holding their friends down. Like, those are the ones that don't play with their sisters, like not having self-worth or being hoes, or in their friends. But they might treat women badly. And that's why in a lot of cases, especially men with daughters, how you treated them nice ladies. You seen that meme? It'll be like, I know I'm getting karma from how my daddy treated them nice ladies. Like, he did them wrong and now I'm sitting in the karma. For sure. For sure. That's not a joke. Like, men, how you treat women is also gonna come back into your life as bad karma for your daughter, your mother, your sisters, right? Um, Another thing is just women being the when a woman is a male's accountability partner, it hit different. Because when a woman loves you, she don't care about your feelings. One thing I noticed about men, male groups, like male friendships, there's just like this bar of accountability they don't hold each other to, because it's just like crossing the line. This is why you see so many deadbeats. You see your friend a deadbeat, but you don't speak up about it. I've even heard scenarios where your friend is a pedophile and you still hang around. But this is so common amongst men. It's one of them things like, well, I'm gonna mind my business. That's not my place. I've seen, or not witnessed, but we've heard stories where a man would just sit there while another man whoops his wife ass and don't say nothing. But one thing about women, especially if we love you, we are not curbing your feelings. If it's to protect your life, if it's to protect your future, we're going to keep it 1000% with you. And men who have that in their life, they understand the value of that. Like, the value of people that's going to keep it real with you and not having a bunch of yes men around you or whatever. I feel like men with each other, they really walk on eggshells, like with each other, like, because they're trying to protect each other's emotions. But women, we don't do that. And it's not always because of disrespect, or we don't value you, or we don't respect you, we want to little boy you. It's really because we love you. That tough love that they talk about, that dynamic is for sure is really like high between men and women. And one last thing is counteracting toxic masculinity. When we think of toxic masculinity, it's so much that we think about. The idea that men are supposed to be tough. The idea that there's a profile that every male should fit. And when you have women in your life, the only cure to that is having good women in your life that lets you know, bro, relax. Show me your feelings. If you're sad, it's okay to be sad. And also, even like when we talk about like homosexuality, I feel like not every man is a what do you call it? Is it a homophobe? Like, not every man is a homophobe, but I feel like it's so common for them to follow this script. When they come around, they might see a gay man and they be like, oh, they feel like they got to really toughen up their toxic masculinity because it's threatened. But if you're in the presence of good women, and especially women that hold men to a certain standard, we gonna look at you crazy. Like, what? Like, why are you doing the most? Like, you know what I'm saying? So having women in your life definitely is the only way to really stop toxic masculinity. I know we always having protests about it and how men are supposed to stop. The only way they're gonna stop is having that woman by their side or in their life that's gonna hold them accountable to that.
The person that's going to.
Yeah, that person that's gonna check them.
That's correct.
Exactly.
The respect.
Exactly. So those are my personal observations. I want you guys to take this moment to really think about the opposite sex in your life in every format, romantically, familial, or friendship, and just think about the value that they bring to your life. And for people who may not have it, I don't think there should be anyone doesn't have it. I have friends, someone like, oh, I had a friend ask me, like, how do you make male friends? I feel like every male friend that I try to have, they end up liking me. And I'm like, Well, the thing is, a man could be attracted to you when he first meets you, but if you set that standard that you don't view them in that way, the next thing is that they got to feel like you are of value, like they could look at you as a friend. And the reality is, a lot of men might not see you as a friend if you're being a woman that's suppressing your femininity. A lot of women get around men and it's like, I don't want to say the wrong thing. Like you curb your true essence. And sometimes men don't like that. So it's like, if I can't smash you and I don't see you as a value as a friend, then they just not gonna be your friend. So I say that to say, for women who say they have a hard time making male friends, you can make male friends by being your true authentic self. Men and women, yes, we are different. We're made up different and we have different views, but we are all human. So we have similarities. Me having a lot of guy friends, I don't know not a lick of football. I don't know not a lick of basketball. I got this Lakers shirt, and every time I wear it, guys be stopping me like, about that game. And I'm like, I don't watch sports. I don't know nothing about male stuff. But the things that I value, spirituality, all the things that makes me me, I always have, it's been easy for me to find male counterparts who also are into that. And we will sit on the phone for hours and talk about that stuff. So same thing for men. Start to seek out women. First, platonically. Start to seek out valuable platonic relationships with women. Before you even get to, if you're not in a relationship already, before you get into trying to find a romantic relationship, I promise you, your lives will level up. So thank you so much for joining. I do want to do Ask Kadi. I didn't get a chance to pull questions, but I got my girl Kadi on set. Do you have anything, or Craig, that you think people might, or you might need advice on?
Is it like piggybacking off of?
It don't gotta be on about this topic. It could be about whatever. Just a question.
A question. So I want to piggyback off the topic about men, women. So do you think that men make women? So you know how women usually how they had the idea, oh, I friend zoned you. If we stop making the idea of like it don't work as like a couple we attempted, do you think they could still
Be friends.
To be in, like, is that the moment?
Oh, for sure. I think that will save her question. If y'all didn't get to hear it on the mic, was, do you feel like if a man or woman try something romantically, like try a relationship and it doesn't work, could they go back to being friends? Like that idea of being friend zoned, could that be a peaceful thing and not like, because when you hear, oh, you was friend zoned, is basically you was played. But for real, if more people got into relationships or started dating someone and notice, because what happens is people see qualities that they may like, but then there's qualities that they don't like, but they still be trying to force a relationship. Sometimes the quality that you like about someone just means let's be friends. And I always used to friend zone people, but not in that way of like, oh, I'm trying to play them. It's like, yo, I really want you in my life, but for real, as a relationship, we ain't gonna work. Just from seeing certain qualities, but I want us to be friends. And the title friendship I hold near and dear to me. So for me to say to a man, I want you to be my friend, it's a big thing. And I do think that we should start looking towards that. Like, I hate the fact that people could be in long-term relationships, and what ends up happening when you're forcing something to work romantically and it don't work, y'all end up hating each other because so much happens that just creates so much turmoil where you guys are beefing now. When for real, if you would have ended it early and just be friends, y'all could have still been cool to this day. I just hate the idea that so many relationships end in beef because y'all didn't know that y'all should have just been friends. So that's the answer to that. Thank you guys for tuning in. Once again, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you download the podcast. Comment, please, on the YouTube and on the download. I want to hear your thoughts about the episode. And I am going to start going live on TikTok so we could discuss these episodes some more. But if you're not already, follow me on all socials. Ask Kadi, the voice of reason. See y'all next time.
That's my girl, Kadi C, the friend that cares more about your growth than your feelings.